All right, you guys. I hope you can see my workspace okay. Um, this seems to be the day that things do not want to work out for Facebook Live. So, I do thank you for joining me, if you're joining me. And today it's going to be just a facing down uh, video because I had a few issues that were because of my delay, and the first one was a cat that jumped up here when he should have been put away. And had I been live, you would have just seen a black thing of hair pop up on here. So the second thing was, for the life of me, I still could not get this to show correctly, and I hope it's showing correctly. Hi, Christine. I'm actually standing up as I'm looking at the top of my video because the iPad doesn't want to show me what I want to be looking at, and especially comments or anything like that. Then, as I was attempting to adjust the phone, the piece that holds the phone up when you're doing a live, it snapped and broke. And so I'm standing here like, I don't think this was meant to be, but at the same time, I'm like, no, I'm going to do 3 cards. So I just happened to have a backup little thingy that we got free at some point a couple of years ago, and I thought, well, let me just pull that out and do this. And then oh good, thank you, Christine, because I cannot see anything from my iPad right now. But I do want to thank you for joining me. Today is a very beautiful day outside, and I'm sitting by the window. I want to show you 3 cards. We're going to do 3 masculine cards today, and I'm going to have to stand up probably most of the time until I have to sit down. But I wanted to show you 3 cards that we'll be making. And I tried to pick masculine colors, and I tried to stick with maybe the same kind of theme, something woodsy, masculine-y, but these cards actually could go either way. So with that being said, thank you for joining me. Don't forget to comment, like, share, love it. Don't be mad, don't cry, but I am doing the best that I can right now, considering cats are put up, and I'm hoping that this secondary little thing that I have holding up the camera does just fine. But I'm not going to be facing it towards me today because that's just not going to happen. Not on this one, after all of the little setbacks this morning. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to get started with this one. And for those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Barbara Ragsdale, and I am a Stampin' Up! Independent demonstrator from San Antonio, Texas. And if you just heard that beep in the background, that's Chris doing his laundry, so which is okay. It's not going to be completely quiet in this household, I'll tell you that. So, but what we are is we are a paper crafting company. Stampin' Up! Is a paper crafting company that has everything that you need to do in order to hand make cards, projects, scrapbook pages, you name it. It's stamps, dies, designer series paper, cardstock, coordinating punches, and there's an ambulance that's going by. I know, I'm telling you, I hear it all in my room, so sometimes it's not easy to have complete silence in the background, and I don't know if you heard that or not. But so anyway, we're going to get started on making these 3 cards, and I'm going to set that off to the side. I will tell you, this is the host code for, it's still the host code for the month of May. So any online orders that are $25 or more, as long as you use that host code, you're going to get let me step aside here, you're going to get the kit that is with the monthly host special, which is Butterfly Gala, and you'll get a kit to make these 4 cards. There's that one, and then there's that little nice simple one. So that's the kit for May, and then put that back over there. So if you have any questions, feel free to just make a comment. I am standing up right now, so we'll get started. This first stamp set that I'm using is one that I used when I made the sampler last week, and it's the birch background. And then the other one I'm going to use is the Peaceful Moments, and I'm going to be taking that happy birthday sentiment off of it. This cling stamp set has lots of various types of greetings that you can put on the inside or the outside of the card. But I wanted to do this birch background because last week when I did the sampler, it was a little tough because my 8x8 piece was larger than the stamp set itself. And so I wanted to be able to do a full covering, but at the same time, I had to do it multiple times. So the colors that we're using, there's only 2 colors that we're using on here. And it's Early Espresso, which this dark one is Early Espresso. And the matte on the back is Very Vanilla. And I've already got all my pieces cut out. I didn't score this, but I'll go ahead and score it now, just halfway. This is an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper that I cut down the middle vertically. I'm going to use my bone folder to get that. These are bone folders, and normally I use my my paper trimmer, the scoring mechanism on the paper trimmer. So let me go ahead and open our ink pad, which is the Early Espresso ink pad. They open like compacts. And in order to get the image, in order to get that image on there like that, what I'm going to do is, whenever I buy a background stamp, I always get the wood block just because it's easier to mount it on the wood block and use it. I only bought one stamp set photopolymer, cling with a background, and I regretted it. So if you ever have the opportunity to use a background stamp and you have the option, always get it on its own wood block. We do have a large acrylic block that would fit it, but it can be troublesome getting them on there and then getting them off and then cleaning them. So I just recommend buying it already on the wood block. And in order to do the background, all we're going to do is ink up our background stamp, and then I want to make sure that I'm using the right side of the paper, and there is a right side and a wrong side to paper. There's always going to be a negative and a positive to it, and you can always tell because of the cut. So it's this side down, and you put it straight down, and I have just a scratch piece of paper, and you can see it's already marked up on that side. And what I do is I cover it, and then all you do is just rub it. Make sure you get the full length of the stamp, and you can kind of feel it below. And when you're done, just lift that scratch piece of paper up and then lift up your cardstock straight up, and you have your background stamp. This card actually is super simple. Okay, I'm actually going to put glue on the back of this. Normally I use adhesive, but I'm finding that my cards stick together a lot longer if I use glue on the background. And I'm going to just put that on there. I wouldn't put too much around the edges just because it may seep out, and then just rub it down like that. Now, as far as the sentiment, set that there and put that back. We're going to use the happy birthday. Same thing, we're just going to ink up our stamp set with Early Espresso, and I will show you. I try to show in every video. Our stamp sets are really they're really spongy, and all it really takes is for you to tap down, and you can see that you have ink on your stamp set, and then you just press it down, give it a little pressure, and then come straight up. The problem is some people don't know their own strength or maybe they don't know any different or not to do this, but if we are inking up our stamp pads and we're rocking them and pressing them really, really hard because we want to make sure we have enough ink, you can see that there's ink all the way around that, and when you go to press it down, and if you're rocking it and making sure that you're getting all the ink, then you have that transfer that's there. So now you can see that. Plus your image becomes, it could look double, fuzzy, whatnot. So I'm going to get all the extra ink off of that. And then I'm just going to go back and tap it, tap it, tap it. And then press down and then come straight up. And then you have your image. And then I'm going to put adhesive on the back. I'm going to mat this on this piece of Early Espresso, and then I'm going to flip that piece around and go ahead and put adhesive on the back of this. We do have new adhesive coming on board, so I'm having to use up a lot of the adhesive that I already have. Just put that across. And then we have our braided linen trim. I'm just going to make a bow. I like to cut it from the roll itself because then you can pull it tight, and then you'll be able to just cut off what you're not going to use, and then you have your bow. Gonna attach it with some glue dots, being careful not to get the glue dots on my finger. If you touch the glue dots, just like with any adhesive, the oils from your hand will take some of the stickiness off. And I thought I had another piece. So this piece, it's dark on the inside, and bear with me, I'm going to cut. I thought I had another spare piece of Whisper White. I'm just cutting another piece off to the side so I can mat on the inside. That way, whatever sentiment you want to write on the inside, and of course, the adhesive ran out. And then you just mat this on the inside like that. And if you really want to dress up the inside, you can always put some sort of something here. And I actually just happen to have a leaf from the same stamp set I'm using, which I'm going to introduce on the next card, and I'm just going to put that right there. That kind of gives it a little extra something on the inside. And then before I go any further and get ink all over everything, I'm going to close that up because that can get messy. But there's the card. There's the first card. And if your ribbon is too long, you can always trim it. That way it doesn't cover up the sentiments. And there's our first card. Just a simple happy birthday card. This actually could be any color, so if you wanted to do another color, we have 50 colors between neutrals, brights, regals, subtles, and then our in colors as well. So you can customize it based on whatever color you'd like, but early espresso and berry vanilla, they go together very well. So card number 1. So I'm going to set these aside, and I'm going to reach over and grab another adhesive. So let me get this open. I should have checked the adhesive before I got on. I try to start with a full. These are real easy though. These pieces pop off and you throw that away and just put your new one on, which I haven't seen the new ones yet, so I don't know how those operate. So I'm hoping they're just as easy as that one. Okay, and so card number 2 is You Are Wonderful. And I don't know if you can see that, but it does have some impression on the background. We're going to continue to use Early Espresso, but this piece right here is Whisper White. So I wanted to go with just white and Early Espresso on this one. But I do want to show you how I embossed the background. Normally I already have these things done, but for this particular card, I did want to bring out our current Big Shot. We have a current die cutting machine, but it is going to be replaced, which is a huge yay. We're excited for our new make sure I got the right card, for our new die cutting machine. But I am going to be using the old one today, and these are just my pieces I'm going to be using. But I'm going to get the die cutting machine, and I'm going to get this is the embossing folder that we're using. And honestly, I'm not sure what this name is. I'll put it in the comments whenever I finalize the video and upload the video. I'll go put it in the comments, but I'm going to grab the Big Shot. There we go. Normally I don't bring this big machine up here, but I'm gonna do it just today to show you how we can emboss the folders. And I know this is probably really let me see if I can, without, make this go a little bit higher. Hopefully you guys can see that. But what we do is we take our piece of cardstock paper and we insert it into our embossing folder. I don't know if you can see, but there is a line going across the embossing folder right there. And I'm just going to simply line my piece of paper up with that. I have the platform, and I'm going to insert it. Even with the new machine, we always want to insert our embossing folders with the bend going inside, and that will help keep it from breaking. And then we have our 3D embossing folder. I'm just going to put that on top and then run it. Oh, of course that fell. Hold on. I don't know if you heard that, but my hand just popped. Actually, I think for this one, I'm going to need, I think my sandwich might be too big. Yeah, it's too big. Bear with me. That's not doing anything. All right, let's do this. We're gonna do it the old-fashioned way. Sometimes making the sandwiches, This is a really old mat. I don't know if you can tell. This has been used and abused for the last 10 to 12 years at least. I just made an old sandwich in order to make this go through, because that folder that I'm using is not a 3D embossing folder, and that's why the other one wasn't working. And there's the imprint. Trying to get it to where you can see it there. There's our imprint. And I'm going to move this out of the way because I don't need it anymore right now. And pull this back. Same thing. I'm just going to put some glue on the back of this to make sure it sticks. And I think that's the problem I was having, was on the embossed pieces, for some reason the adhesive didn't want to really stick, so I just decided to change it up. And same thing with, I should have done this piece first. Oops. Make sure I'm folding it the right way. Press this down with my embossing, my bone folder, sorry, my bone folder. And then I'm going to put this back on. Just want to make sure the trees are going in the right direction. It's real easy to do things backwards. So we'll get that on there, press that down so that glue sticks to that paper. You always want to try to hover it until you get it into place so that you can pretty much even it all the way around. If you've ever tried to take cardstock off of paper after it's already set, you already know how difficult that is to do. And then on this piece right here, we are using, let me pull this over here. The Rooted in Nature actually is two stamp sets. I'm looking for the other one. Here we go. Is actually 2 stamp sets. And this one is actually continuing in the next catalog, which is nice. So everything I'm using today is something that's going to carry over in the new catalog. And you can do so many things with these particular cling stamp sets. These are cling, not photopolymer. Oh, got something on the back of that. But I am using these 2 stamp sets right now, and that sentiment, "You are wonderful," comes from stamp. It's a 2-set stamp. It comes from that one. So I'm gonna get my early espresso back over here and open it up. I'm gonna tap, tap, tap. "You are wonderful." Make sure I got full coverage. And then I'm gonna stamp right in the middle. Little pressure, straight up. Put some adhesive on the back. Make sure I get that covered. And we're gonna mat it on this piece of early espresso. Now for the back, what I'm gonna do is I'm actually going to put some dimensionals on the back. And I'm gonna put one on this side, and I'm gonna put one on this side, because I want that piece to pop up from the paper. Take those off. And I just noticed something. I don't know if you can see it, but I'm gonna probably end up, let me do this before I put this down. And that's why I always have an extra sheet. And I noticed I smudged that piece. So I'm gonna do that one back over. I have to make sure I don't. It does take a few moments for the ink to dry. Pick that back up. So I'm not gonna touch that just yet with my finger. I think I touched it with my fingers actually, because this is the card that I'm going to give away. I think when I went to put it down, I actually rubbed across it. So I'm gonna just do it on the side. Then I'm gonna put my dimensionals on the back. peel those little papers off. And then I'm going to mat it in the middle so it pops up a little bit from the paper. Press that down. Now for the inside, I'll do the inside last. I want to do these two leaves, and I did actually save that piece to do on here with the Big Shot as well. So I wanted to show you how I did those two leaves. These leaves are from the same stamp set that You Are Wonderful was on. It's this one right here, and that actually is a, I'm gonna use that, but I'm gonna set that aside. Is a die cut. I'm just changing out my magnetic. Bringing the Big Shot over again, just so you can see how I cut that out. I don't want that big piece on there. Now, Rooted in Nature does have a coordinating die cut set, and it is all of these stamp sets right here, if you can see that. And I just realized where is it? My phone isn't plugged up, so let me plug that in real quick before this goes away. I don't want this to go away. Okay. And so I'm going to be actually using this particular die right here. And all we do in order to die cut it, what I'm using, and there will be a new one with the new Big Shot, is a magnetic platform, and it actually helps hold down the die cut so that it doesn't move around. I can position this in place, and if it keeps moving, there's a reason why it might keep moving on you. In the old magnetic platform, there's magnets on the inside, but it's not a full magnet going all the way across. They're placed kind of here and there, so if you ever get into a spot and your magnet wants to move, it's because it's looking for the next piece of magnetic to hang on to. And put the top plate on. Oops, put this aside and run that through. Sometimes it will click and then sometimes it won't, depending on your machine. And then you just pop out the leaf. And then I'm going to do this again on, let me do that one again because that one didn't get a full, I'm just going to do that one again. I didn't do that one dark enough. Same thing with this one. And I can always tell if my die is going to move on me. I don't want that. I want to try to get it as close as I can. And then just run this through. Sometimes it will stick. And then it pops back out. So now I have my two leaves that I'm going to use. Okay, and like last week, what I did was, because I don't want the leaves to be just flat on the paper, I don't want to just put them on the paper like that. I want to have some kind of depth to them. So I just kind of put these two together, and you can either do them with your fingers, or you can break out take your pick tool and use the pointy end and just wrap the leaves around the piercer part. And what that does is that kind of helps to raise them, give them a little depth to it so that they're not just flat. And then I'm going to take a glue dot, put it on the back. Well, that one wants to come up. There we go. and just set it on that side, and I'm going to do the same thing for this other side. I'm going to put that one there, and then the same thing with the other card. I'm going to make a bow with this braided linen trim. You can also use we have another trim that's like this, that's called linen thread. You can also use linen thread as well, or if you have another color coordinating ribbon that you want to use, you can use that one as well. Stick a glue dot on the back of that one and stick that one there. And if you need to, you can always trim your ribbon after you get it down so that it's not covering any of the sentiments. And because it's a dark base, I'm gonna put a piece of Whisper White on the inside so that if anybody writes a message or stamps a message, you'll be able to actually read it. I'm putting extra adhesive because I need to use all this adhesive up. And normally I would tell you to stamp your images first, but because this is a cling stamp, what I'm doing is I just inked up the leaf again. Because this is a cling stamp and this is a pretty hard surface, it's pretty even. I'm just going to stamp that on the inside. Now you can also, if you had a color coordinating envelope, you could also stamp these images on your envelopes as well. So that is card number 2. You can see that. I can't see it from the top as good as I would like to, but I hope you can see that pretty well. So that's card number 2. You are wonderful. And then whatever sentiment you want to write on the inside, you can write on the inside. If we were in class, you would have options to put, you know, other sentiments, but I do the front and then just leave it up to you what you want to put on the inside of the cards. So that's card number 2. And let me set this aside. I'm bringing out card number 3, which is a little bit more involved, but it's more background stamping than anything. And I left this alone. I had made a little boo-boo right there, but that's because I rocked it like I tell y'all not to, but I did it thinking it would come out, and it did, but this is not what you'll get. You'll get the actual one that I'm about to make. And with this one, I decided to go with soft suede. This is soft suede. That'll be the inside. Very vanilla. This is Pretty Peacock. And it's just 3 colors. The only color that's different is this piece right here where I stamped the sentiment, and that is Mint Macaron. I didn't want to put it on Very Vanilla. I wanted to put it on another color that would coordinate with it, so I just put it on Mint Macaron. And these are little 1/2-inch strips of paper, which, by the way, I keep all scraps because these were scraps that were pretty much already cut. So keeping your scraps and using them for sentiments like this that are real small and thin, this is a great way to use up your scraps, because this paper is quality paper. It's not cheap, and you want to make sure you're using the paper the best that you can and using it all. I use it all. It has to be a pretty ragged piece of paper for me to actually throw it away. So I'm going to fold that and use my bone folder to make that crease hard. And I'm going to go ahead and put adhesive on this one. Just want to make sure I'm putting it on the right side. Normally we do all our stamping first. I'll load that one up. Probably should put glue on there too. Let me put some glue on the corners. Get that in there. This one's overkill. So this card definitely is not coming apart. But normally we do all our stamping first, just because if you put your card together and then you go to stamp the images on the cardstock, put that down, and then you mess up, then you pretty much have to start all over, because there's no taking apart the cardstock off the card. You just have to start all over. That's your only option. Now this piece of Very Vanilla, what I'm doing is, let me grab my early espresso back over here. And you're going to see me doing a stamp off technique. No, I don't want early espresso. I want Pretty Peacock. Let me put early espresso away. I want Pretty Peacock, and I've got soft suede over here as well. Let me clean this because I'm not sure what color. This is our simple chamois, and as you can tell, my chamois gets used a lot. But this is a really quick way to clean off your stamps, because you want to make sure that your stamps don't have ink from another ink pad or another stamp. And you can always press it to make sure it did take off everything. But what I'm doing on this particular card in order to get that effect on the back is called a stamping off technique, and I'll show you. I'm going to stamp the tree in Pretty Peacock, and you can see it's pretty dark on there, but in order to get that light effect, I'm going to stamp off on a piece of paper and then stamp the piece of cardstock, and you get that lighter image. So you can see this was the original full strength ink, and this was the stamped off image, and that's actually what I'm doing on the background. So you do use a little bit more ink than you probably want to, but our ink pads do have refills, so you can continue to use it and then ink it back up. I'm just doing that as a background, and then on this one I'm gonna go full strength on this one. So you kind of create your background using your stamps. Same thing here. I went ahead and went full strength on this one. And I think I went full strength on this one. Okay, now I'm going to leave that alone, because what I'm going to do is another piece. I went ahead and took and mounted the tree. The tree, I used Pretty Peacock on mine, but I think I want to change it to the soft suede. That's a lot of Pretty Peacock on one page. So I'm going to use soft suede and stamp off just the top part of this tree. And what that does is that gives you the effect of just the ground. So I'm going to tap, tap, tap there. I'm going to stamp off and then just stamp on my paper. Stamp off. And that kind of gives you the background, like there's leaves on the ground. And then that's all the stamping that we're doing on this particular one. So I'm gonna go ahead and put adhesive on the back. Thank you for joining me if you're joining me. I'm sorry I'm not looking at the comments, so if you're saying anything, I won't see it till afterwards. We're gonna mat. Uh-oh, my mat is larger than the other piece. I didn't cut that one down. Okay, bear with me here. And I already have adhesive on the back, so this is gonna get extra tricky. This is supposed to be a, if this piece right here is 4 inches by 5 1/4, then this piece is supposed to be, make sure I get that right. I know it's 5 inches across, but it's 3 3/4 across the side. So I'm trying to figure out what side I need to take off. I'm gonna cut off so that I don't make a complete mess over here doing that. And I think I'll do this one. There we go. Ta-da! There we go. That looks so much better. I've got to clean the paper off my trimmer that stuck to the trimmer, but it worked. Now, in order to save time on this particular card, what I did was I went ahead and stamped and die cut some extra trees. I only did one of that one, so oh yeah, I did that on purpose. So I only did one of that one. So I want to take a dimensional and put a dimensional on the back, just there in the middle. Take that piece off and just start putting them on the card. And then I'll take this one, this one was stamped in soft suede, just to break up the color of all of the pretty peacock. If you wanted another different color green, you could use another different color green. We've got, I think, 4 or 5 different types of greens in our color line. Pretty peacock is really pretty. It's one of our end colors that will be in the next catalog as well, so yay. Stick that one there. Now, in order to get our sentiment, I've gone ahead and mounted the one that says "to thank you for all you do," and make sure that's on there. I'm going to ink that in the soft suede as well, and then you make sure it's even where I'm going to be stamping below. Just press down lightly and then come straight up, and of course it didn't do the do there, so we'll do that one over. Make sure and ink all of it up. Yeah, just do it again. These scraps come in real handy when it comes to boo-boo. So there you go. So thank you for all you do. Now, I don't know if you can see that, but from this card right here, there's a little bitty, I don't know what you call that. What do you call that? What do you call that? Like a banner edge. If you're really good at cutting by hand, you can just simply cut it by hand. But if you're not, then I will show you. This is a little trick. This just happens to be our tailored tag punch, and several punches can do this, but this one's my favorite when it comes to doing it. You can always use the edges of the punch in order to get that banner edge, and let me show you. I don't know if you can see that from that angle, but this helps me determine how long I want it to be, and then once I get it to the length that I want it, then it's just a matter of lining up where it's going to punch, and you can make it even. And there you go. There's our little banner edge. And then if you need to use, if you have a use for this little piece that popped out, you can use that for something else. Otherwise, it's just a piece of scrap. Now for these, because it's small, I don't want to use the large dimensionals. I want to use the smaller ones. I'll just put a small one on that part. I'll use 3 just to make sure it stays down. And then you take off the backs of those as well. And then go ahead and put your banner down. And same thing with the other ones as far as a ribbon. If you have another kind of embellishment that you want to use, you can use that, or you can just go ahead and put another bow on the end of it. Alright, you guys. I thank you for joining me earlier. I'm not even sure where the video stopped the first time, and I'm not even sure if it actually finished recording everything, but I think sometimes we get a lot of signs, and for some reason I'm just getting the sign that maybe I wasn't supposed to do a Facebook Live today. I'm not quite sure. When I plugged in my phone earlier, I plugged it in, but the power to the power strip wasn't on. So here I am the whole time thinking that my phone is on and it's got juice to it while I'm finishing up, and it wasn't. It was actually running on low, and then it just completely cut out. So not even sure what I'm going to do with this video. Clearly I'm not going to be boosting it, so, but I did want to finish up because I'm not exactly sure where it ended the first time, and I'm sorry it cut off. I think last week I had a problem with it being interrupted just out of the blue, so I'm not even sure why there was an interruption to last week, but clearly this week it's all my doing. So but anyway, these are the 3 cards I wanted to show you that we did. The happy birthday, you are wonderful, and the last one, to thank you for all you do. So with that being said, I think where I first noticed that it cut out on me is if you see any of the stamp sets, especially Rooted in Nature, that you like, as well as the coordinating dies that come with it. This is my website. The top one is my website. The bottom one is my blog, which has a little bit more information on the blog because we're able to do a little bit more with our own blogs. But at the bottom is the online host code. So when you go to checkout, on the bottom left, you will see an area where it says online host code. And that's where you'll have to go put this particular code in order to get, and I'm going to reach back over here again, in order to get the kit that has, that you can make using Butterfly Gala with all 4 of these particular cards. So I wanted to wrap up with that and to thank you for joining me today. Thank you for hanging in there, even with all of the blurps that happened. I was certain that I was getting a bunch of signs. I just wasn't supposed to do this today, but I was intent on doing it. And of course, now I have power to my phone, so I'm good. And these are the 3 cards. So make sure you like, comment, share. Sometimes I don't always see if you're sharing, so if you're sharing, just leave me a comment letting me know that you shared, or if it's a watch party or something like that, I can only see what is on my screen of comments. So thank you for joining me again today. I'll do a drawing late tonight. I try to wait till about midnight to allow other people to come on board and watch the video, 1 or 2, so I don't know how I'm going to do the videos, and I hope that the first part recorded because it just cut out, but on my laptop it was showing the video was interrupted. So anyway, thank you for joining me today, and I will see you I say next week at 3, but next weekend I'm going to be going on a retreat with my upline in Weatherford. So I'm not sure if I'll do one, and if I do, it may be pre-recorded and just scheduled to be going on at 3. So there'll still be something at 3 next Sunday afternoon, even though I'll be driving back from Weatherford back to San Antonio. So thank you for joining me, and we will see you on the next Facebook Live. Bye-bye.